Hello people, I am Inko, and today we'll be watching the French adaptation of My Life as a Teenage Robot, Just You and I. Coming to us from famed Eurojank developer Spider, Steelrising is a game about fighting for freedom, while you yourself are an android who has never known freedom. But also fighting for freedom because the Queen said you gotta do it, but also because these rich men ordered me to do it. They believe in the freedom of France. See, look how hard they're fighting. You take the role of Aegis, a weaponized sentient sex doll that Marie Antoinette commissioned after King Louis XVI took 7 years to bang her. Because of this, the king becomes a no-good, cranky evildoer and turns the newly created automats into his own personal army to bring about a reign of terror across all of France. After a night of steamy passion, Marie Antoinette realizes that Louis XVI being a bastard tyrant who's taking control of France is a bad thing, so she sends you off to fight. How will you accomplish this goal? Who knows? Just hope for the best and hit anything that isn't human, and maybe, just maybe, you'll stop the army of robots that always come back from the dead. This quest leads you to finding fanfic versions of historical figures from France, and the game expects you to be excited. I indeed of course was very excited to meet Antoine Robespierre, who died of a strange case of decapitation for selling really bad tobacco. And the developer's favorite, Maximilien Robespierre, who was very stoutly against the death penalty. If I had to use one word to describe the story of Steelrising, it would be political, not because it's topical or has a message or because it features women, but rather because of the wealth of cutscenes that are solely dedicated to someone talking about the state of France, the king, strategies, trade routes, the economy, all that shit. Characters spend so much time explaining stuff to you, they all blend into a muddle as each and every one of them begins to feel like the same person. They end up being about as boring as if you were reading about them in a textbook. And they end up being less people and more quest dispensers, and it's fairly hard to care about a bunch of characters whose biggest purpose is to tell you what to do. The story itself has a lot of cool elements to it. The premise itself was enough for me to drop some money on it. But a lot of these elements feel so weirdly disconnected from each other. Like robots take over France, but actually let's discuss the various political movements that took place before the robots. The cool stuff does exist when everything blends together, but the introduction to a lot of significant plot developments feels clumsy. The idea of souls being the thing that powers machines and killing people makes them more powerful is something that is said once in a throwaway line before it is accepted as fact, after which the game tells us that people can actually voluntarily remove their souls and travel into purgatory. So then we discovered that an ancient alchemist created a philosopher's stone to travel to purgatory, but he got stuck, so we talked to his ghost and find out that we have to destroy the stone before his soul can move on, and we accidentally created a new religion. Another example of this clumsiness is the introduction to the slave plotline. We meet Julian Raymond for the first time, and right at the gate we're prompted to ask how black people are doing across France, and he responds with, oh well, you know, not good. Then that leads us to finding out that the slave trade is going to get worse because there's a plot to feed slaves into machines so that productivity can increase tenfold, but not before Julian Raymond justifies why him owning slaves is actually a good thing. After which we discovered the conspiracy of everyone involved and chase down the guy behind it. He escapes. Then we report it to Julian Raymond and he just goes, damn, that sucks, before the whole thing is promptly dropped and the quest ends there, never to be brought up again or even have a resolution. All of this makes for a story that feels weirdly paced and disjointed. Characters have their own motivations, but they never affect the plot in any way. Then we get to the alternate history part of the game, which is weird. I mean, in terms of historical accuracy, you should already expect less. It's about robots and shit. But the war is written so one-sided, like a black and white affair. The revolutionaries are fighting for freedom and shit, so obviously that means they're 100% the good guys. I'm sure the end of the revolution will bring about happier days, right Robespierre? But alas, it is a silly robot game, and I'm pretty sure no one is using Steelrising as their main source of accurate information about the French Revolution. Either way, the story itself feels equivalent to that of COD Vanguard. Also, where's Napoleon? Still, the story is small potatoes, the mustard seed you put on your foie de grace. You can largely ignore all of it by not reading the wealth of notes lying around, and it's pretty easy to not care about these characters. The game doesn't give you a reason to. So that being said, we move on to the actual game, the liver on our foie de grace. At first glance, Steelrising may look like your classic button masher RPG, and indeed it is, but only if you turn on the assist mode. If you're playing the game correctly, you'll still find button mashing, but this time you're button mashing with purpose and desperation. Because Steelrising is very much a game in the Souls variety, which can only mean one thing.
Look at me. Obama ball, Travis ball, Obama like this.
You can expect typical Souls-like trappings upon entering Paris, France. You have your light attack, which is very fast and effective. Your strong attack, which is an attack that is strong and has a wind-up time of about 90 French seconds. This attack can be traded in for a delayed strong attack that takes even longer to wind up but has better payoff. Bundled with your injury pack comes a special move that will let you do weird shit to your enemies, all of which are controlled by a stamina meter that is shared with dodging and jumping. Depleting this resource will force you to go into a refractory period where you will experience post-orgasm pain for trying to do anything. Enemies are aware of this and will specifically attack you even harder when your stamina depletes, and unluckily for you, enemies do not play by the same rules, so for that reason it is important to chill. The first major difference to the Souls-like omelet is the stamina bar. Combat is fast and requires you to keep a certain pace while fighting, so to that end you can restore your stamina completely if you react fast enough. This is called a cooling system that works like me spraying antifreeze on my graphics card. Overuse it and you will freeze in place, letting you ponder about this humiliation for a couple of seconds before you die. If you try to cool before the prompt shows up, then the game gets very funny and pulls a prank. The prank in question being your stamina bar no longer coming back, so you won't be able to do basic functions like running away. Now, where the real differences lie is the weapons. Weapons are not locked to stats, so if you find it, just upgrade it and you can use it right away, which means absolute freedom to fight with whatever you want. When it comes to RPGs, I am always a sucker for dual wielding, so naturally I was attracted to the glass batons that did huge damage, but most importantly also froze enemies. Alongside that was a giant hammer that could do this. The variety of weapons is pretty damn great. There's a fire chain that lets you explode, fast knives, there's a weapon called fire and dice that burns enemies when you parry, fans that turn into shields, a weapon that does this. Big clock, everybody. If you use it while running, you get to ride it. It doesn't get much better than this. The weapons are perhaps the best use of this setting. All of them are a variation of real-world weapons mixed in with clockwork future vibes, and they're all fairly unique in their look. So just finding them to see what crazy shit they could do was great. Each one comes with a special move, but unfortunately a lot of them are just a parry and block. But the ones that do have unique properties are always fun to play with. Combat gets a bit more depth when you unlock the traversal moves, like the air dash that damages enemies while also letting you get closer to them, or the fire kick that always feels satisfying to use, or the wire that's perfect for split decision long range attacks. Not all weapons are made equal, however. The balancing for this game is all over the fucking place. Some weapons are shit while others basically cut through anything. One of the very first weapons you find is a gun that freezes enemies very quickly, including bosses, which causes everything to roll over in your favor. Then you have grenades that are what the devs put into the game in case a boss fight gets too hard.
Oh my god guys, it's the fucking Executioner. This is the hardest boss in the entire fucking game. Okay boys, I got this. I know exactly how to win against this guy. Shit, I'm out. No worries, I still got these. Uh-oh.
Enemy variety is also something noteworthy. In Souls-likes, enemies are your driving force. Make them too bland and boring and the game falls apart. Make them too easy to dispatch and the difficulty plummets. As we all know, mobs cause more deaths than the actual bosses themselves. Fortunately, Steelrising understands this and throws at us all sorts of unholy creations. We have exploding dogs, the testicle twins, guys who shoot you with trumpets, guys who carry around logs and hit you with them. And that's not even getting into the bosses of this game that look quite insane and represent classical French figures. No matter what, the enemies in this game will find a way to deliver a spectacle and a beatdown. Even if that beatdown is sort of unfair because of the shitty wonk-ass hitboxes. Enemies also sport my favorite fuck you trick, as in they can only attack you when you're in the middle of an animation. And when the game runs out of new enemies to give, it makes up for it by throwing a fuck ton of them at you, sometimes even sporting more health than before. Still, these are minor nitpicks that will only bug you after 20 hours into the game. But Souls-likes are only as good as their setting, so let's dive into the world. Spiders has successfully recreated ancient France. I think I wasn't there. Meaning that the streets are completely detailed, delivering to you a post-apocalyptic Paris. Beautifully crafted city streets that sprawl open into maze-like structures, leading you to actual mazes, sewers, government building, and the Spiders development offices. Furthermore, a lot of buildings you see have a way in, allowing for the devs to give us a demonstration of the basics of interior design. I just wish my baby brain computer could render the ground correctly. Better yet, keep a consistent frame rate. Please optimize your game. What's more is upon reaching certain fights, you unlock traversal moves that give the exploration of the map more verticality. There's just as much to explore on the rooftops as there is in the back alleys. Because this is a Souls-like, we cannot have autosave checkpoints. That's for little boys, and we are men. So our compromise is stations that are always 6 miles from where we need to be. Here it is where we can upgrade ourselves and watch our enemies we fought long and hard come back uninjured, and where we will return once those same enemies injure us. And much like Fart Souls, the map itself is designed in a way that exploration rewards you. Be it a new weapon, a fairly useless item, gear, or a shortcut that loops back around to this specific point. Exploring the map is fun but also kinda fruitless. While finding crazy new weapons is cool, they are rare. So most of the time all you'll find is upgrade currency or god forbid gear. I don't know about you guys, but old European fashion always comes off as kinda funky. Like these motherfuckers are really walking out here in this shit. Or you can find modules to stick in your ass. These are supposed to provide gameplay benefits, but I never really noticed the difference. Nevertheless, exploring the levels is still incredibly fun to do because of how well crafted they are, even if the rewards are not that great. Sprinkled throughout the game are side quests, which are unfortunately always relegated to fetching things, and only one included a unique fight. As I was woefully uninterested in the lives of my fellows, the quests in particular were not a great source of entertainment. But at the very least they did occupy whole new areas of the map, sometimes underground sewers or previously locked off areas. Out of all the intricate quests in this game that altered the ending, my favorite one was the one where we meet a prisoner going insane and he begs us to end his hunger. The goal of this mission is to scour the entirety of Paris for a single loaf of bread. As we give it to him, he thanks us by telling us about the horrific ways we will die. Classical French humor. In summation, is this game good? No, it's fairly janky, the performance is shitty, and the character models look years behind current technology. But is this game bad? Also no, there's a variety of how you approach combat, good levels, and interesting art design. To many, this game will fall into one of two categories. To Spider fans, it will just be the next game to tie them over until Greedfall 2. And to others, it will just be another Souls-like to throw into the endless pile alongside Mortal Shell, Thymesia, and eventually Lies of P. But to me, Steelrising will forever be the game about killing a monarch that released on the day of Queen Elizabeth's death.
Lorsque l'on est mousquetaire, un pour tous c'est tous pour un, on est comme des frères. Un pour tous c'est tous pour un, il faudra s'y faire. Les autres ne sont pas loin quand on en voit un. Un pour tous c'est tous pour un, lorsque l'on est mousquetaire. Un pour tous c'est tous pour un.